Hey, how are you?
Hey, very well, Maria. Good to see you. Welcome, everyone, to Speaking Business TV. I hope you all are very well on this nice kind of spring day. Maria, how has your week been? How's it going?
Has it been a short week this week, or was that last week? I've lost track of life. I don't know what's going on. I was just sort of like, it's really weird. It was a short week this week, wasn't it? Please tell me, because I feel like I haven't achieved
Oh,
what I
that's
need
it.
to
Because
achieve.
because in the
Do we have a
UK
bank holiday?
we had a May Day bank holiday, and also our friends in different parts of the world, the Eid festival has just happened this week, so they're still in. So happy Eid if you're celebrating Eid this week as well, the end of Ramadan. So yeah, it's kind of in that funny time. We're in the middle between things, but a lot of inquiries, a lot of speaking inquiries are coming back in now that
Brilliant,
everyone's in the office, which is great to see.
brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
So we have a guest today, and unlike our usual way that we do it, which myself and Maria will introduce the guest, we have going a bit fancy this week. We actually have a video to show to introduce this wonderful guy.
Makes my life a lot easier. Right, love it.
Ford Saeks has redefined the formula for business success. His efforts have helped companies generate a total of over $1 billion in sales worldwide. From startups to Fortune 500s, Saeks is widely recognized as a business growth innovator. With over 20 years experience, ranging from retail to wholesale, authored several books, awarded 3 U.S. patents, and received numerous industry awards. Tenacity and innovation are what fuels this revenue-generating powerhouse. From grassroots to Google, Ford provides his clients with fresh perspectives and doable tactics to resolve marketing, operations, and growth challenges. As president and CEO of Prime Concepts Group Incorporated, Ford specializes in helping businesses attract loyal and repeat customers, monetize social media, and ignite creativity. We're happy to have him here with us today. So please give a warm welcome to Ford Saeks.
Welcome, Ford. Welcome.
So glad to be here. How are you guys doing today?
We are
Very
good.
well, very well. Thanks for coming and joining us. It's lovely to see your face. It looks great setup. You look like a real kind of, you're a proper YouTuber. This is the look. This is the YouTube look you've got with the nice purples and the colors in the background.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, if you're going to do it right. It has to be congruent.
Exactly.
Fantastic. So I'd love to understand, Ford, how did you actually get started in the business? How did you, and why?
Well, I started out as an entrepreneur many, many years ago. I invented some products and I sold products through every channel of distribution. So retail, wholesale, manufacturers rep, distributing, exporting, chain stores, mass merchants. And so having taken lots of different ideas from a napkin to fruition, then people started asking me, hey, how do you take an idea and actually leverage it? How do you get a patent, and how do you develop manufacturing and distribution channels? So that led to in being invited to go speak at some conferences. And then I thought, well, hey, this is a business and I can certainly generate revenue from this business. So I said, I'm going to learn how to turn this into a business. And so then that led me to actually turn it into a business and start as a speaker, author, trainer, and consultant. And that was 34 years ago, a long time ago. And since then, the real challenge has just been, how do you stay relevant and add value and make a profit? And so, now I still don't position myself just as a speaker. Obviously, I want to be booked as a keynote speaker and my fees aren't cheap, but it really is about being a thought leader and how do you actually stand out over the competition.
Fantastic. And actually, you mentioned something, so I'm going to go on to that.
Sure,
question,
whatever you
if
want.
I may, because you said, how do you remain relevant? 34 years is a long time. I mean, not for me because I'm old, but it's a long time to be a speaker. I've
Yes.
been in the industry for a while, and not many people last that course. How do you stay relevant?
Yeah, and you don't. I mean, and not only relevant, but the joke nowadays, the inner circle joke, the non-political good joke is OWG, old white guys, right? And because and it's just worth saying, it's not political or anything else. It's just when an organization is interested in hiring somebody now, they're looking at the type of person and the expertise, and there's a lot of factors that go into it, right? And so relevancy really comes down to adding value. And for those listeners, whether you're on the speaker bureau side, whether you're a new and emerging speaker, or whether you're a top producer and you just love speaking business TV and you're just hanging out to try to come away with some new inspiration, to be relevant, it really starts with adding value, right? And so, once you start to really deliver value, then all those other factors that may be an initial factor aren't as big of a deal. So to remain relevant, it really starts with, and for me and everybody else I work with, it just starts with really asking, what problem do you solve that people are willing to pay to make go away? And the key word there is pay. So there's a lot of people that have problems, but if they're not willing to pay to make the problem go away. So everybody's responsibility and role as a speaker, author, trainer, or consultant is, how well do you really understand the problems that you're solving? And more importantly, are you communicating that to your market?
Absolutely.
And Ford, how did you, when you first got involved in the speaking industry, how did you think of your positioning? Did you come at it from the perspective of, I want to be the number one expert in X, and I'll build other things around that? Or
and anybody who tells you that they had it all figured out is just BS. Okay. So they're not serious. So no, what happened was, I was a troubled youth. I grew up in foster homes and detention centers, and certainly not the path of a silver spoon. Quite the opposite, actually. And when I was in a jail cell 6 foot by 8 foot at 15 years old, thinking to myself, maybe I haven't made the best life choices, one of the guards gave me a cassette. Some of you millennials are going to have to Google what a cassette is, because you won't know what that is, but it's a place where you can listen to audio. And the audio program was The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And so, think about it as a motivational tape, right? And so that message at 15 changed the course of my life. So that's what set me off to be an entrepreneur. That's what led me on personal growth. And I started reading more books and going to more seminars. And so when I finally decided, through the demand of speaking, I thought, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a motivational speaker. Well, let's be clear. I like motivational speakers. And yes, I'm motivational and inspiring, but that's not how I position myself in the marketplace. Okay. I position myself as a business growth accelerator. So the story here, James, was originally when I started speaking, I positioned myself as a marketing speaker. Very niched marketing, because at the end of the day, that's what I do. But here's the nuance. It's so critical. Marketing is a feature. The result of marketing is business growth. So I did make, for probably 10 years, I was positioned as a marketing speaker, and I made good money, and I spoke on digital marketing. Back in the day, it was direct response marketing. And then when the internet came on, it was digital marketing. But what I found out was, a lot of the meeting planners, and again, Maria, you'll, as someone in this industry, you'll understand that if they just think marketing, oh, that's not the topic we want. Well, as soon as I changed my positioning from marketing to business growth, it opened up the doors. So if you think about it, business growth and business growth acceleration, that's what I'm known for, is the result of marketing. And so the positioning changed to the result. And then that's when it really, really took off, is when I started to promote, which you would do in any business, right? You want to promote the benefits, not the feature. So the benefit is business growth. The feature is marketing.
And when you decide, you said at the start here, you think yourself an author, speaker, trainer, consultant, those kind of 4 different things. At what point did you decide to add on one of these things, these buckets, these kind of new areas in your business? Because I hear from other speakers, sometimes they feel that they try to do too much too quickly. I want to be everything. I want to do all these things. They're all fantastic. Others are saying, actually, I'm just going to focus on this one thing. I'm going to get to $1 million, and then I'll move to that next thing and do it sequentially. So how did you approach that?
I would approach this with what I did and what I would tell anybody to do listening right now. Throw all of the titles out of the way. Speaker, author, trainer, consultant, seminar leader, workshop leader, throw that all out. That's all just crap. Okay. Whoops. I can say crap. Right? Okay. So
British, that's an 16th century Shakespearean word. I think you're fine.
Okay.
You're okay.
So we're going to throw all that out. How I position myself is, I'm a research-based thought leader. I spend a lot of time in research and being a thought leader. Now, to develop a thought leadership, you have to develop reputational equity. So that's a constant working. You have to write articles, do blogs, do podcast interviews. You have to go live on LinkedIn. I mean, there's a lot of things you need to do to build your reputational equity. And that's just a fancy way of saying content marketing. So, let's be clear. Reputational equity is just, if you're not being visible, then people don't know who you are, right? So just remember that the reason people hire you to solve whatever problem it is the reason they're spending money. The delivery method is speaking, training, coaching, consulting, learning management systems, webinars, public events, whatever the different stream is, but the value is at the top. So when you look at, if you were doing an organizational chart, if you drew a circle at the top of my circle, it would be accelerating business growth. At the end of the day, I help people do 4 things. Get more high value clients, increase the average transaction, increase the frequency of purchase or referral, and operate more efficiently. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the only way you're going to grow. You're going to get more high. We don't want more customers. We want more high value customers, right? We want less customers that are going to spend more money. At each transaction, we want them to spend more money with us. So how do you add value? It's not about the money, everybody. It's about how do you add the value so that people will pay for the solution. And then how do you build referrals or referral partners or repeat sales with the client and go deeper? And then how do you run your business more effectively? Because, the highest expense that someone's going to have if they start adding labor is their employees. And so, or staff or outsourcing or whatever they use. So it's a long answer there, James and Maria, but I would just say that the positioning should always be around the value, not the delivery method. Now, obviously, if I'm speaking to a speakers bureau or an agent or an association, yeah, I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a Hall of Fame keynote speaker. So yes, but above that is really the value.
I'll just get a final one because I know Maria will want to jump in here as well.
I do.
I mean, you're kind of talking really there from a kind of client-centric. What is that client? Put that client in the middle, and then you can build out things you have to build rather than product-centric. So
right.
I'm going to pull up on that because is there any of those delivery? You mentioned those delivery methods or those modes.
Right.
If you could only do one of them, like all the other ones are taken away, you can just do this. This is you for the rest of your life. You can only deliver in this particular mode. What would that mode be?
I love the speaking part of it, obviously. Delivering value, connecting with the audience, seeing them actually take action is where I really get juiced up, is when you've given somebody a fresh perspective, help them rethink, reframe, refocus, and reignite their passion towards their business. That's what's fun. In business, people are good at one of 3 areas. And I guarantee that James and Maria, it's the same for you. You're either good at delivering the product or service, which we'll all put a checkbox in. I think we're all, great at delivering whatever we say we're selling. But number 2, you're either going to be good in marketing and sales or management leadership. Okay. So marketing and sales on one side, leadership and management on the other side. So you're either one of the others. Well, if you don't have someone who's going to hunt sales and someone who's going to farm the leads, you need a hunter and a farmer perspective. And if you do that, then if you have any types of solutions that involve other people, you have to learn how to lead the people, right? So there's 2 sides of that. And so in business, regardless if it's a speaking business or the manufacturing or retail or wholesale, doesn't matter. You have to look at the dynamics of that and realize that you're going to have to hire your weaknesses. So when you ask me, what would I rather do? No, the speaking is the fun part, because for me, it has variety, it has uncertainty, it has significance. It meets so many human needs that I'm more willing to do that for free, and then sometimes I sell to back of the room or something. But the speaking really is the driving it. So that's what we call a long road to a tiny house, James. I could have just said speaking, but that kind of fills in the blanks a little bit.
No, that's good. I think you and I are very much simpatico on that. We're very much together on that side. Maria.
Fantastic. I'm going to take a short road to, I think, the question that everybody wants to ask. And sadly, I've spotted that we're not able to stream to my Facebook group at the moment. So anybody who is struggling there, that's getting a bad signal, we will post it in the group afterwards. So this is the $1 million question, or should I say, several $million question. What are the key factors to having a 7-figure business as opposed to a 6 or a 4 or a 5-figure business?
Certainly. Well, it really, I get asked this question a lot. Yeah. And just for the record, 7 figures, what you sell isn't what you keep. Okay. So there's a lot of difference between, revenue and profit and so forth. But, I've certainly been in the business and making 7 figures for a long time. I'm one of the founding members of the $1 Million Speakers Group of the National Speakers Association in the States. So I've been doing this a long time. And what I would say is the first thing is you have to have a strong area of expertise. Okay. You have to have a really solid value proposition and expertise. Once you have the expertise, then you need to have a revenue model. Okay. So you need to have a way of distributing that value. How are you going to earn money? You have to be great on stage. You have to be able to deliver whatever your content or expertise is. We all have seen speakers, and certainly with your experience back in the bureau industry, there's a lot of speakers that were very, very smart and very educated. Maybe they wrote a best-selling book, but they couldn't entertain an audience for 15 minutes without putting them into a coma. So, you have to be skilled at delivering the value that you offer. Number 4, you have to have a digital footprint, and your digital footprint has to do with your website, basically what shows up when someone Googles your name. So for those of you listening, or if you're watching this live, you can type my name into Google and you're going to see over 100 5-star Google reviews for my speaking business. You're going to see over 100 for my agency. You're going to see lots of photos and videos and podcasts and backlinks and blah, 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 blah. Right. And so you can vet me pretty easily if someone's interested in actually hiring me. So your digital footprint is what shows up when someone Googles your name. It's your website. It's your search engine rankings. It's your social media profiles. And frankly, I'm not that active on Facebook anymore. I really don't spend a lot of time on Facebook. My team does some posting and some things, but I spend more of my time on LinkedIn and YouTube and doing some of the other marketing. And so you don't want to judge your social media presence by, oh, well, why don't you have, gazillion millions of views? I've got clients that have, hundreds of millions of views that we've helped get. So it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality of those leads, right? So, my fees aren't cheap. So I don't need, 1 million people to hire me every year. I do about 50 presentations a year that are in person and more virtual. And that's plenty for me at my age now. I don't really want to be on the road like I was in the early 90s, where I was on the road 3 weeks a month, for 3 years straight. I really don't want to do that anymore. So back to the point, you have to have a value. You have to have a revenue model. You have to be great on stage. You have to have a digital footprint so that you have your website, your social media rankings, your search engine rankings, your business directory listings, and then your reviews. What do people say about you? And then number 5, you've got to take massive action. You can't just, invest in a website. I want to throw one more thing in there. A demo video is part of your digital footprint. So if you're going to be booked as a speaker, especially, a 5-figure speaker, if you're going to make 5 figures or more, we're talking about $1,000, four would be 1,000, I guess. So I guess 4-figure, if you're going to be a 4-figure speaker or more, you've got to have a compelling demo video. You have to be able to, in today's day and age, leverage the power of video, just like we're doing here today. And, yes, I've got a switcher and I can change, and I can do picture in picture, and I can change things, but it's not about the technology or the website. It's really comes down to delivering the value. So those 5 things, if you're going to build a 7-figure speaking business or 8-figure, then you definitely have to look at those 5 things, because those are the foundational things that are going to make it or break you.
Any business, actually, not just speaking business. I think
Exactly.
I think it's so important. One of the things you said, which I think is vital, is the take action. And a lot of people will, as they'll create the website and then not touch it again. They'll create a demo video. They'll create their speech and not work on it anymore. I imagine it's part of being relevant. But and I'm going to go off at a tangent now, but I just want to stress that point. But the tangent I want to go off at is: do you think it's harder now than it was when you became a 7-figure speaker? Do you think it's harder now? Do you think it's more competitive?
Yes, it's definitely more competitive because you're competing now with bloggers and influencers and TEDx speakers, and there's much more competition. This business is a really, really easy business to get into. For all of you listening or watching, you want to be a speaker? Okay, you're a speaker. I just made you a speaker. Okay, so just saying you're a speaker makes you a speaker. Now, whether you can deliver, that's a whole different story. So this is a really easy business to get into. It's a harder business to make it a profession and treat it really as a business. A lot of people have said to me, Ford, you're such a great marketer. How about I'll give you 60% of everything I make. You just book me, right? And it's like, it doesn't work that way. Why would I take 60% of your fee when I can make 100% of my fee, right? It doesn't work that way. So I think it is definitely more competitive, but that's a good thing. At the end of the day, people vote with their wallet. And, I think that there was a big swing when COVID hit and everybody went to virtual and they started getting studios. Well, I was doing virtual way before COVID, so I had a head start. And then now that we're coming out of it, at least hopefully, knock on wood, and we're moving, into more live events, the dynamics of how people have their meetings, the corporate budgets, what they're willing to do, and the hybrid meetings where they do live and corporate and pre-recorded. So my motto, and people have used this, you guys can, model it because it's certainly been taken by a lot of people. What I coined years ago was on stage, on screen, on demand. So I can be on stage if you want to put me on stage live. I can be on screen like we're doing here today. This could be like a keynote like I gave yesterday to a franchise organization. They had it was their annual franchise conference. Or on demand, which means I'm going to record the content and then replay, just like the Speaking Business TV. You're going live, but then you're going to take the episode and you're going to, be able to distribute it at Facebook and LinkedIn and whatever else, YouTube and the other places that you post.
Brilliant.
So I'm just thinking you've been in this industry for a
long time.
2 years. I'm going to you'll have also seen when you go to those NSA events or any Speakers Association events, I can look around and think, okay, well, 30 to 50% of these people are not going to be here next year because they're going to come in and they're going to either.
You're too kind. It's a much higher number, but
I'm being kind. For whatever reason, either because they don't find that they enjoy it or they find it too hard, or for whatever reason, it's not suited for them. But then there's also those speakers who kind of flare out quickly as well. So from what have you seen, what are those kind of landmines that any speaker that goes into this industry should be really, really cautious and be sitting there prodding with their little knife, making sure they're not gonna step on it?
Well, the landmines, I mean, obviously the political landmines. I mean, even me just saying on this podcast, on this interview, saying OWG, old white guy. I mean, that taken out of context, that could really hurt because, I have lost bookings where they've booked me and they've called me and they've said, we've decided to go with a different speaker. And I said, well, was it my content? Was it my video? And they said, no, we just met with our committee and we just have all men and we need to bring in some women. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I totally get it. So landmines are doing anything political. I do believe that you need to have an opinion, or I don't believe you should sit in the middle of the road or you get run over, but you have to be really careful as a professional. If you're going to represent brands, that you maintain that professionalism. So it's really important to avoid those types of controversies if you're going to make it in this business. If that's what you want to do and that's what you want to say, that's great. That's part of it. But it's going to be harder for a brand to bring you in to a company that might have 1,000 or hundreds of thousands of employees if you're too politically charged. And we'll just say politically, that covers a lot of different topics. Okay, so that's one landmine. The other landmine is not being visible, which means you're not, every day that a speaker isn't speaking, they're unemployed. Okay. So, if I'm only going to speak, 40 to 50 times a year, I'm unemployed those other days. So what am I going to do those other days? Am I going to do a webinar? Am I going to do a podcast? Am I going to write a LinkedIn article? Am I going to write a Forbes article? What am I going to do to remain relevant? So the biggest landmine is not taking action, thinking that the business is just going to come to you. It's very rare. it's the unicorn that, does something, and all of a sudden now they're just in hot demand, because there's always going to be someone new. There's, every time there's an Olympics, every time that there's a reality TV show, well, there's 30 more speakers, right? Anytime somebody wins, there's another speaker, right? Because anytime someone wins a show, okay, now they're on the speaking circuit talking about the challenges that they went through. And so those types of speakers usually don't last very long. They're usually fads. They come in, they rock it up, and then all of a sudden, a year later, no one knows who they are. So the biggest landmines are not marketing and not doing those 5 foundational things, which is, working on your expertise, working on your presentation, working on your humor, working on your content, and really getting clear on what's lifestyle friendly. This is something I didn't bring up, but I want to make sure it's brought up here in this conversation. Lifestyle friendly relates back to the question you asked me before. Ford, if you could only pick one, what would you be? Well, lifestyle friendly means what's lifestyle friendly for you. So I would much rather jump on video and do a video than sit down and write a 2,000-word article. I would rather put a fork in my eye than sit there with a blank page and trying to come up with a blank. Now, do I have to do it? Yeah, but that's not fun for me. I have a dozen employees. It's not fun having to look at my balance sheet and my income statement and my cash flow. And I'm going to do it because it's my business and I need to do it. But that doesn't excite me as much as, hey, let's do this article, or let's do this funnel, or let's do this campaign, or let's do this webinar, or something that's a little bit more personable. So for those of you listening and watching, the landmines are, treat this as a business. You don't go broke making a profit. All right. So if you're not making the money you want to make, if you're not making the revenue you want to make, the question you need to be asking is, how can I add more value? Like I mentioned in the opening. Because if you're not adding value, you're not going to make any money. So whenever I talk about money, let the money go. It doesn't matter 6 figures, 2 figures. I've had a lot of speakers, James and Maria, say, well, Ford, it's just not about the money for me. I just want to change the world. And I just want to say, look, okay, that's great. I want to make an impact and change the world too. But if you really want to do that, earn money. Start a charity, be philanthropic, give the money back, do something with the money that's going to help the people to really make an impact. But being poor doesn't help you change the world. And so you really want to look at, how do I add more value? But more importantly, what's lifestyle friendly? So for me, I have some sales funnels and some membership stuff that I do and some high-end consulting that I didn't do when I was in my 20s and 30s, because I really wanted to be on stage and on the road. Well, now travel's not fun. I don't know about you guys. Certainly it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Traveling is not fun. Flights get canceled. It's just not as glamorous, and the fee and the costs have gone up. I have a flat travel buyout, and for my speaking engagement, it used to be $1,000 US. I've raised it to $1,500. I found that people would rather pay more for the speaking fee and less on the travel from a bureau standpoint or a client standpoint. So, it's just, this is a great business to be in. There's a lot of opportunity. Yes, there's a lot of competition. If you're in sales, leadership, communication, or a B2C like weight loss or personal growth or motivation, there's a lot of competition. But just like musicians, look at the number of songs that come out every week. Look at the number of movies that come out every week, right? So there's always room out there if you're talented.
So on the speaking one, we'll just go focus on that, put the consulting and the training and the other things to one side. You live in a very rural location in Kansas. I live in a very rural location as well. And just now it's beautiful because there's loads of things coming out. There's loads of beautiful crops. We've got all the spring lambs. It's gorgeous. It's wonderful. But I often think I sit and watch, if I get up really early, if I'm doing an event, let's say Asia or the Middle East, and I'm up really early, I see those farmers walking around, putting their stuff in and doing that every single day. Christmas doesn't matter when it is. So they're planting those seeds every single day. Every single day they're doing that stuff. As a speaker, what are those things that you think a speaker should be doing? Those seeds a speaker should be planting every single day, consistently, doesn't matter. But if you just keep doing that, planting those seeds, keep doing this every day on a consistent basis, success is almost in the same way that nature is going to produce something. It's almost guaranteed.
Well, there's two things that I would suggest. I'm gonna toss up a quick visual real quick. I won't be able to do it with a camera because it's on a different thing, but I'm gonna pull it up real quick. So the first thing that I'd recommend that everybody does is they pick an industry and they do a mind map. They do a brain dump of their industry that they want to focus on. And so, if we go like a clock, you want to start at the top. You want to understand what are the media sources that relevant in that industry. What are the associations, and do those associations have local chapters and national chapters? Who are the influencers? What's the competition? And more importantly, which I should have started with this, the purple box, the challenges. Are you clear on the challenges facing that industry? And then the social media. So that little mind map there is where you want to start. Okay. So if you're not clear on what challenges people are facing, and you haven't done your homework and you haven't done your research, and you're not clear where are the opportunities and where are the clients, and what is my ideal type client that I want to go after, you have to start there first. Okay. Now let's put a pin in that and assume, okay, Ford, I've got that. I know my industry. I know the challenges. I know the media. I know the influencers. I know the competition. I know the associations. Okay. The next thing is you have to dedicate time to hunt. To do two things, I would say. I'm going to break it up into two more things. One, your reputational equity, which we mentioned earlier, which is you've got to be putting out content, video content, written content, interview content. You have to become visible. The reason I say that's more important is because the way organizations make buying decisions now aren't just, hey, do you hire speakers? I mean, it's just, you can dial for dollars, but you're going to raise skinny kids. It's a very hard road if all you want to do is pick up the phone and make phone calls all day. You're much better spending that time writing articles, writing books, publishing books, go out and write a book and publish a book and go send it to 100 clients and get visible. And then that's going to get you much more business than just making a bunch of phone calls or spamming people through LinkedIn. One, know your industry. Two, you've got to be working on your content and your distribution of just like what I'm doing here today. I'm meeting new people. I'm sharing now. I wouldn't say that everybody who's listening to this is going to pay my fee to have me bring in and speak to their organization, but that's not the point. You get to know me, you've heard me, you see me, something else comes up, and maybe you're part of a committee where someone's going, hey, we need someone bringing on business growth. And someone's going, you know what? I remember a podcast. Let me go look at that. And then you go find my name. And so it helps. So you need to remain visible and diligent about marketing.
I love that. Fantastic. I love that. I'm going to ask another one of these $1 million questions here, because I like the $1 million questions, because I think, and it's probably going to have to be the last one so that we can make sure we share all your contact details. So this one, I think people will be interested in. What advice would you give to speakers trying to enter the US market, which is the market that everybody wants to be famous in and wants to get business in?
Well, first of all, having an accent really works. I will just tell you that. So you've already got, for those, depends on where you are around the world, that's going to help. Again, it has to do with being visible. A lot of organizations will bring people in from overseas because it's different, right? That you can't be a prophet in your own home or whatever. There's some saying like that. So certainly, what I would say is the same things apply in other industries. It's a little different in Eastern Europe as far as marketing. If I was marketing myself to Eastern Europe, but if someone is trying to market in the United States, you need to build in your connections on LinkedIn. You need to make sure that you've got easy ways to contact you. I'd recommend getting a Google Voice phone number so that you have a US number, even if it gets forwarded to an international line or just goes to voicemail. But the same things apply. At the end of the day, the same question, Maria, people ask about B2B or B2C. And I tell them it's P2P, it's people to people, right? So, it doesn't matter if you want to come into this market. If you really want to come into this market, then treat it just like you would any other market. What value do you bring? What's different? What can you do? And how do you get visible? And depending on what your fee is, if they're going to bring you in from overseas and pay your international travel and things like that, They want to know that you have a unique selling proposition. What are you doing and how are you positioning what you do differently? Have you coined some process, some methodology? Do you have a kick butt? I almost said the wrong word. Do you have a compelling, that's a better word. Do you have a compelling demo video, right? And if you do, they will pay for you to come in. I mean, I got booked for an event the other day, and I gave them my keynote fee. I have my keynote fee and I have a virtual fee, and they're very close, but I thought this was for a regular in-person event. So I said, okay, here's my fee. And they said, so then they said, okay, we want to bring you in. I said, so what location is it? And they said, oh no, it's virtual. And it was interesting because, I would have probably charged a little bit less had they said, hey, this is for virtual. So it's interesting perspective, so why should I charge less? I shouldn't. And there's a big debate about, should you charge less or not? And we could go into that topic, but I was really thrilled. And they were like, oh, no, that's it. And we only want 45 minutes. So, I mean, think about it. I mean, I got a full fee speaking engagement for 45 minutes virtual, sitting right here in my t-shirt. Okay, I put a jacket on so I could, be a little bit more, dressed for the keynote. But that's a lot better than having to fly out the day before because I have to worry about the flight getting canceled and getting a hotel and doing an AV check and a sound check and all those other things that go along with, the in-person events. So, I think it's just, there's a lot of opportunity for people to speak in the United States. You just need to treat it the same way. Make your top list of 100 clients that you want to speak to. Get on LinkedIn. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to speed. Make sure you have a way of contacting you. Make sure that your website is clear. And if you're bilingual, make sure you say that. Because I've had to do translations, like when I go to Canada and speak in Montreal, I've had to, speak French and I don't speak French, but I had to use translations. And how do you do that? So I wouldn't treat the U.S. market any differently. It's the behaviors of how they make buying decisions is a little bit different. You have to be a little bit more, I believe, vocal than maybe what I would do with stuff. If I'm marketing to Europe, I do change my tone and style, where in the US, I can be a little bit more, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but a little bit more bold.
That's really interesting. I saw you've been making notes, James. I've made a page of notes. I'm going to really listen to this. It's fantastic. Well, listen, thank you so much. It's been invaluable. James, would you please share how people can get in touch with Ford?
Absolutely.
Although I think he's done it. Look.
Well, there you go. Fantastic. Beautiful. Primeconcepts.com. Head over there and you can learn much more about Ford and everything he's kind of got going on as well. Ford, you mentioned as well a couple of social media places that you can hang out, places you don't hang out. What is that one social media place that people should go and
I would say connect with me on LinkedIn. Now, here's something I'm going to do, and I only do it occasionally. And this is no joke. This isn't prepared. It's part of my switcher. But for those of you that want a digital footprint critique, if you'd want to use this Talk with Ford, this is going to block out a 30-minute slot, which I'm only going to spend about 15 minutes. So just in all transparency. And so this is limited. So if you're watching this live and you want to take advantage of a 15-minute conversation, it's not a sales call. I'm not selling anything, but if you want me to take a look at your digital footprint, if you want me to look at your value propositions, you can go to talkwithford.com. Yes, it's an online calendar link that just handles it automatically, so I don't have to mess with it. But that's a link, and I know this is going to be in the replay, so that's fine. And I'll limit it at some point. So if you reach out to me in a year and ask for it, I'm going to say no, I'm not going to do it. But if you want a digital footprint critique to look at how you can get to that next level, just go to talkwithford.com. That brings you straight to my calendar. It blocks a 30-minute slot, but we probably won't take the whole 30 minutes. And for full disclaimer here on the recording, everything that we've been talking about today is for informational and educational purposes only. We are not giving you legal advice. We are not telling you to quit your job and jump into the speaking business. So I always want to make sure I throw that in on every recording.
Love that. We've got some lovely comments. People have very much enjoyed it, and those who missed it will be for sure catching up on the replay. It's been invaluable.
I'm just thankful I didn't say buy Tesla stock at this point now after you just said that. So that's great.
Well, why? I have Tesla stock. What happened? Is there something I need to know about?
Anyway, thank you so much, Ford, wonderful speaking to you. First time we're all connected. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Please take the opportunity to connect with Ford as well. Maria, lovely having you. Are we going to do a little bit of a catch up? I think after this, maybe. I think maybe that'd be an idea.
Yeah, let's have a catch up after this. Fantastic, brilliant. So I'm going to play us out. We're all going to dance now. Okay.